welcome to Steph Smith's first edition of 60-Day Snapback. And that's where I'm going to snap back into professional playing shape. Yay! So I am not going to put you through my long tones today because that is technically what would be first on the snapback. But it was brutal and nobody wants to hear that. So I'm going to actually do a couple of small little exercises from Cam's like first method for horn or something like that. For first horn, it's linked in the description below. And so the first thing that I would do when I was approaching this piece is try to sing the first note because I haven't been practicing, and so my ear training is super rusty. So every day I'm going to try to just sing the first note of each exercise, and hopefully my ear training gets a little better, and we'll see how close I was. So the first note is a C, so in my mind that's probably like okay, let's see how close I got. Not too far off, but it could have been better, okay? So then the next thing that I would do when I would look at this exercise is I would try to sing it. So, bum, bum, trying to get my pitch. Ba 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 Okay, let's see how far off I got. Oh, terrible. Okay, so that is something that I need to work on. My ear training is failing me because if you don't use it, you lose it. Okay, so note to self, got to work on ear training. So now the next thing I would do is I would actually try to hold this as a long tone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the first note of the first note of the whole piece and hold that note for 1, 2, 3, 4 measures. Okay? And then I'm going to hold the first note of the second stanza for the rest of the piece. Okay? And while that's happening, in my head, I am singing the notes that I'm supposed to be playing. Okay? All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that went pretty well in my head. If you want to give that a try, that's a super fun exercise to do just because it kind of gets your airstream moving. And the other thing that I'm going to do now is just play the piece. And what I'm thinking about here, I'm trying to not think too much, but I actually just want this to be one big long tone. That's why I do the long tones first. Even though I'm switching notes, everything on horn is kind of a series of long tones. Unless there's staccatos or other articulations, but for the most part, everything's a long tone. So I'm going to give it a go. All right, here we go. 1, 2. Okay, so that wasn't too bad, but I was very unhappy with my second breath. So the first breath that I took, because there is a lot of time, it's the first note of the piece, it's a lot easier to take in a full breath. And the second breaths are always notoriously worse than your first breath. And that same thing happened to me here. I couldn't make it the same length of a phrase as I did on the first one. So I am going to go back and try that again. And so I'm going to breathe after the half note, C, and I'm going to try to make sure that I let all of my muscles go as I'm inhaling so that my rib cage can swing open so that I can get the most amount of air in. That's really important. Okay, so I'm going to give that another go. Okay, I made it that time. Oh my gosh. So note to self, if you don't use your lung capacity, you also lose it. So I definitely need to work on breathing and making sure that my breaths are really, really healthy and really relaxed. Because this thing happens is when we start playing, things get tight, right? Because you're letting air out and your muscles contract naturally. And sometimes they can just get locked down in that tense position, and when we go to breathe back in, they're already tight, and so you don't get nearly as much air in. So that would be the next thing that I need to work on. And then I would move on to number 2, but it's basically the same, so you kind of get the idea of what I'm going for here. The other thing that I might do is do this entire thing flutter tongue. So I'll give you an example of that now. Alright, now you can hear the difference. Do you hear how things just kind of level out and like you can't feel what I'm feeling on my face, but it's so much easier to play. It feels so much more relaxed after I've flutter tongued something. It's a great learning tool. So if you can't flutter tongue yet, go and watch my video on how to flutter tongue. That's a super useful tool and it's really important. So if you liked what you heard today, if you want to give it a try, I have linked the exact IMSLP link below, and you can just play this exercise. Otherwise, you can just hear it in your ears. It's not that complicated. But if you want to actually look at the music, go and take a look at the link below. Hit subscribe and like on this video if you want to hear more content. I'm going to be doing these every single day. So for the next 60 days, because I'm about to be amazing at horn in the next 60 days. All right, see you next time.